Shalom, shalom. With you in about 29 seconds. Here we go. All right. Shalom, shalom. It is another great Sabbath. I truly hope that you are resting. I truly hope that you are taking time to enjoy your family. Uh, I truly hope that you are taking time to Sabbath, to rest. I feel like today I'm starting. Uh, I'm starting today. I feel like I'm starting a stand-up comedy special because y'all, I got kids. Sounds like a intro line to from many comedy specials that I understand that comics use the comedy uh, to expel a lot of truth, just to speak a lot of truth. And well, I don't consider myself a comic. I consider myself a cynic, cynical, those type of things. But good gracious almighty, y'all, I got kids. And today, I think I need a Sabbath from the Sabbath with my oldest son. You ever heard the song, um, Only You Take My Breath Away? Only You Take My Breath Away. Then you breathe new life into me. Well, that song there. Well, today, um, on the Sabbath, if it wasn't work, then I would have been living out that song with my 13-year-old. Only I was going to take his breath away. Only I was going to take his breath away. Only I was going to take his breath away. And then try to breathe new life back into him. Oof. I promise you, y'all, if you got kids, raise by a show of hands. I know you can't see me, but if you ever had to worship the Lord, excuse me, if you had to worship Yahweh because of your kids, won't you go ahead and just send me some type of emoji down at the bottom? If you ever had to, I don't care if it's even my mama. I don't care. Put your emojis down below. If you ever had to clap your hands and go into a Shabbaha or a Shabak or Hallel, if you had to go into a worship to keep from putting these hands on your sons and your daughters, why don't you go ahead and just help me out? Put some at the bottom of the screen for me, please. I need a little moment right now. I got kids, y'all. I got kids. And each one of them knows how to step on a nerve. I know this ain't Sabbath talk, but it is because I I had to rest from before I got arrested. I want to choke the life out of one of them. Just to choke the life out of them. These hands. Put these hands on them. Put these, probably a couple elbows too. These hands, these hands. Amen. But if you ever had kids, if you have kids, children, and you ever have had one of those moments, do me a favor. Just type the emoji down at the bottom, some type of mm-hmm or amen or even I feel you, bro. Something down at the bottom there, because this is one of them Sabbaths where um, um, it took me a minute to gather my composure. So it's good to be with y'all today, adults. It's good to see y'all today, if you know what I mean. Sometimes you need a break away from these kids. Praise the name of Yeshua HaMashiach. All right. Now that I got that out, I feel a little bit better until I got to see him again in a few minutes. But that's neither here nor there. Let's go right into it. So, son, I know if you're watching, I know you are. I love you, but EP today almost stood for expressing politely my thoughts to you. EP almost came to, expressing politely these hands. But EP also stands for an evolving parent. I'm trying, y'all. I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm trying. All right. So today we're going to talk about a couple of things. We're going to deal with the Hebrew months. We're going to take some time to deal with the Hebrew months. We're also going to talk about the Gregorian, just very briefly, the Gregorian and the Julian calendar as we move into the Hebrew, back and forth into the Hebrew calendar. And then we're going to have a challenge for you. I'm going to have a challenge for you. We're going to have some classroom time. So I'm going to need for you, if you don't have it now, you're going to need the next few minutes here. You're going to need a pen and a pad. If you're not going to do it now, that's fine. But when you go back to watch the broadcast again, I want you to make sure you have a pen and a pad because there is a challenge. And the prize is your education and your development and your evolution. And it's not something that I'm going to send to you, but this is for your development. The reason why this is important is because I'm moving very rapidly into teaching and going through the education process of learning Hebrew and teaching Hebrew to individuals. So this is very important, where today you will be receiving some Hebrew words that are meant for your life. All right? After we get done with the calendar, the Hebrew calendar, or the Luash, the Luach Shana, Luach Shana. Luach Shana is calendar. So once we get done with the Luach Shana, then we're going to move into dealing with, as we did last Sabbath, a narration of a video by Mr. Robinson that we started, Jeffrey Robinson of the ACLU, that we started last week. I know that I said that I was going to do some more narration during the week, but the reality is that for those of you who don't know, I've been really dealing with an undisclosed ailment that I really need to get on top of. So I spent more time in the bed. I spent more time um, doing the right things to bring my body under subjection. I thank those who've been praying. If you don't know, it's not because I don't want you to know, it's because it's undisclosed. I thank those who've been praying for me, and I've been growing stronger. I literally have been growing stronger. I was able to get some cardiovascular work in this week like I never had before. And for those of you who have not known, um, believe it or not, over the past 7 to 10 weeks, I've been dealing with something that is um, very serious to me. Um, it is something that I had to really to take a hold of, and I had to slow down, and I had to really to come to terms with, if I don't take care of, even though I'm pushing, 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 and I don't want to miss deadlines, and I don't want to disappoint people, and processes, more disappointing processes and purpose. If I'm not there to be a part of those processes, if I'm not alive, then I cannot improve anyone's process. Um, and then everyone is on to the next one. They go on to the next teacher, the next prophet, the next person in their life. And I want to be here. I want to be here. And so times when you see me get in front of this camera on the Sabbath, it's sometimes one of the only things that I actually do during the week. And this week was different from the past 6 to 8 weeks. Um, I was productive in a way physically that I could be without feeling like I was going to keel over at any time. And some, people have been very, very concerned and I thank you for your prayers and your concerns, and I have taken heed and I have slowed down. For those of you who I'm in the middle of a process with you, and I may not have discussed this with you, I thank you for your continued patience. But I'm coming back. I feel better than I ever have in a very long time. A lot of the symptoms and the portions of the ailment that I try to, I don't try, I do hide or I do conceal. I do so when I get in front of the camera because I do not want individuals to be more concerned about me than getting truth. And I had to be aware of that I need to be transparent and clear that um, I thank Yeshua for healing me proactively and in the process of healing. I'm not asking Yahweh for a miracle. And I want you to understand why that's important. Because if you live life expecting miracles, I know it's an old Clark Sister song, I'm looking for a miracle. Well, I'm not looking for a miracle. I'm working in the principle. The principle are the details that you learn as you are growing, so that you learn the process, so that when something comes back on you, then you have the details of how to defeat it, and you have the syllabus of how to read it, you have the blueprint of how to build it, versus putting all the Legos on the table and asking Yahweh, Lord, Yahweh, give me a miracle. Build me a man out of these Legos. I want to hear that. Lord, Yahweh, build me $1 million out of these Legos. But when you live life by principle, then you're not just being led to the water and saying, ta-da, here's an oasis, or ta-da. No, because you are actually shown and given the principles or the details of how to make sure that if that thing ever comes back, then you can defeat it. And that's what I'm doing. Um, the problem is that if you live life by principle, if you live life only by miracle, then you always run the risk of never learning the principle. Someone can ask Yahweh for $1 million, and a windfall blessing comes your way. Whoosh, here's $1 million for you. But if you have not learned the principles of saving, spending, investing, if you have not learned those principles, then that miracle that you was given will be short-lived. But if you learn the principles, you can start with $1. You can start with the shilling. Talking to my Kenyan folks out there, how y'all doing? You can start with the shilling. You can start with $1. And you can build because you know the principles of becoming. This is the reason why even the Ashkenazis or the Khazarian individuals who now occupy current day Jerusalem, this is why they were able for generations to succeed in a place that doesn't belong to them. It is because they learned the principles of the scripture and they applied them to their life. Meanwhile, we're in churches hooping and hollering and making all this noise and begging for miracles, and never learn the principles of truth. So I'm conditioning myself. I'm learning that maybe, and it's coming to a conclusion now, but maybe I'm not able to take every appointment every day. And for many, I did not even disclose that. And for some that were able to come closer to me and were able to have real conversations with me, I was able to say, yeah, that's a vulnerable moment for me. I'm not a leader who believes in becoming a charismatic only development for people. My superpower is my vulnerability. And when I'm able to be vulnerable and be open, then it helps me, it aids me. I'm being a better leader and a better man, super and naturally. So, thank those who've been praying for me. Continue to pray. as I continue to grow stronger. Um, this is a defeatable foe. This is a physicality that is defeatable. But if I'm not, no, it's not. It's not. It's not the Budweiser virus. No, it's not the Kakuna. I never give it a real name, y'all. I just won't do it. I won't. Not because it's not real, but because that's just me. If it is not the Kakuna, it's not the Budweiser, the Coors, or any of those. It's not that virus. But I have to be sure that if I don't stay on top of this ailment, and if I don't bring myself into fulfillment of being whole, then it can be something that can be affected by the Kakuna. And so with that being said, I'm gonna leave it there because everybody here is not here for the right reasons. Everybody here is not here to glean truth. There are a lot of people who yank the footage off of YouTube or other medias and dissect to find abnormalities in their truth and look at ways to point fingers. And so I'm not going to give. There's a difference between being vulnerable and being foolishly weak. Everybody can't take everything about you. You can't tell everybody everything about you. Someone just had that epiphany moment in one of my sessions, transformation sessions here recently, and I couldn't wait to the Sabbath to reiterate that. You are exactly right. Everybody can't. And so for those who are looking just to look, keep on looking. For those who are here to glean truth and knowledge, GDI, let's go and do it. All right, we're going to start. We're going to start with some information here. We're going to start with earlier in our earlier broadcast, we discussed, and this is going to be a classroom style today. Um, I do feel a whole lot better, like I said, but I'm not going to push myself as I am feeling some effects, and I don't want to say I can't wait to be done with this, but this is the highlight of my visible day to the world, and I'm working better at spending more time with my family and really breaking open this whole Sabbath engagement. But I can't wait until I'm able to rest after this, because right now I am feeling some symptoms of some things. So pray for me, please. The Gregorian calendar and the Julian calendar we've discussed at some length in prior broadcasts. I'm not going to go into all of the information right now. If you have any questions about any of that information, they're all available on YouTube. They're all downloaded on Periscope. They're all downloaded on Facebook. I encourage you to go and look at those on those subjects that are headed the Gregorian and the Julian calendar, and why those must be taken out of your vocabulary if you are really wanting to move on to greater truth, fuller truth, more truth, the truth. All right, let's move forward into the Hebrew months. Now that we've discussed January, February, and March, but we're going to get into a couple more details today, briefly, and then we're going to go right into the Hebrew months. But if you can take a minute and just in your head go through January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, you'll find out that these are a part of a former Julian calendar that was replaced by the Gregorian calendar, named after Gregory. If you don't know who that is, you got to go back and watch it. I'm not going to spend time going through that. But I want you to look at some things today that we haven't really discussed too much. We're going to hit them quickly. The month of January, or the word January. That word comes from the word Janus, And Janus was a Roman, the Roman. Let me see, make sure I got this right. The Roman god for beginnings and endings. So I want you to understand immediately, even though January and February must know we're added later on. Okay, and I'm going to show you how it's proof that they made a mess of this in their attempts to honor their gods. Okay, if you look closely, the word January. If you're taking notes, this is something you want to take notes on. The word January is the word Janus or Janus, and it's a god that they call their god the beginning and ends. Kind of atypical of the Romans to put their beginning god at the beginning of their year. If you remember, I told you before that for a long time, the winter months were not even counted in the vocabulary or in the timeline of the Romans. It was just dead air. It was like dead space. They would get to the end of the warm months. They would come through the fall, the so-called fall, and which is actually harvest time, which is what we should be volitionally watching as our calendar markings. But you found out that in that time they just didn't do anything. It was like, what month is it? It's a what so when are you coming over? Oh, about it's a couple of days. That's literally how they went about. And I'm being a little bit facetious, but really, that's how they went about their time. Once it became cold outside, they just took the calendar off the table. They had no months. They had no time. He equated to that. But if you look at February, of course, you see how in the month of February there's a huge holiday, or no, it's not a holiday, because if you have to look at the word holiday, it's holy day. But there is a day of festival, better put, there's a day of festival that the Romans again enjoyed and went through the festivities. And that's going to be the month of February, was dedicated to the Roman god of passion and love. This is also the Roman god of war. The name of that god is Phoebus. Phoebus. F-E-B-U-S. Phoebus or Phoebus, depending upon what part of the country you're from and where your tongue dissects and how you talk. Let's go into the next. We have March. March is also known for the Roman god of war, Mars. You see that? April. April was the Greek. Now this was interesting. April was represented for the Greek goddess, a Greek goddess by a specific name that I'll get to in a minute. But it was also known, because the Greeks were conquered by the Romans. It was also adopted by the Romans to secure a name for the Greeks as well. So the month of April was for the Greek goddess Aphrodite for the Romans, and Venus, the goddess Venus, for the Greeks. Wow. Something you want to kind of watch there. Next, let's go on to May, Maya, or Maya, M-A-I-A. This month was dedicated to the Greek goddess of spring. The Greek goddess of spring, fertility, the whole nine. You do your homework. I'm giving you the name so you can do your homework. And if you're coming across information, let me just say this. If you're coming across information that you're not able to disseminate, don't take it on by yourself. Don't take it on by yourself. That's the reason for a teacher. That is the call of a rabbi. That is a call for you not to be by yourself. So if you're coming across information in your own study, because I want everyone to study to show yourself to be approved, but do not negate Yeshua's process or Yahweh's helpers, such as individuals like myself who can help you disseminate information. It's not that I am an encyclopedia of exact truth, but the spirit that Yahweh has put in me gives me the ability to really to have a gift to disseminate and break down information. And because I do spend a lot of time and effort and hours and have for many years on these subjects, then it will behoove you to use those resources. This isn't a competition. This isn't church where you are vying for a position or the pastor wants to be the most learned. No, utilize your resources. So if you're coming across information in your research, again, that's why I'm building the separate network so that I can continuously give individuals information, books, research, data, uh, broadcasts, so that you have a steady diet of resources, so that you don't have to do what many have done and become complacent. I've heard of people, and it's very real, who begin this journey of searching, and along the way they may even become atheists because it's so much information that is erroneous and that has been hidden, and you find something, you're like, wait a minute, what about this and that and that? And I'm dealing with people in the Book of Enoch and Jubilees and Maccabees, and people are flooding my not flooding. I would say it's a torrential downpour. It may be a light, brisk spring rain of information, people coming into my inbox and asking questions. Understand that you are always I'm always not always available, but you're always welcome to call my office. My office is tied directly to all my lines, and even schedule an appointment to speak. If you don't know that number, inbox me that you would like that information. I'm not gonna put that stuff out there just willy nilly because people just want to be nosy and find out what you're doing. But if you want that information, don't just seek stuff on your own. Do not become fatigued in your searching. And also, I want to be able to cover you from misinformation or information that you don't need to study. For instance, people have brought me books and things, and I want you to keep doing that. And that come back and say, hey, what about this? And I'll say, you know what? That's not only would I tell them that it's not something that you need to read, I'm learning to be more direct. As a counselor, as a therapist, it's sometimes easy for me uh, to give an answer for the now without giving people understanding of what they're really asking for, because I may be protecting them, or I may be on a totally different subject. So I'm learning to be more direct. But I'm learning to be more direct to tell people, look, you don't want to touch that because that is information, and I will give you the XYZ. For instance, people are asking about certain books that are not included, that are in the Apocrypha, and I'm giving information that's not something you want to touch. You want to stay right. You want to stay right in the vein that you're in, learning in the realm that you are learning right now, because that material will derail you. If you're not strong enough, if you're not learned enough, you will be derailed. It will derail you. Even myself and other scholars, people that I consider scholars, have go through great processes of recourse, because once you read certain things, and you have to know truth first, and not just the written truth, but the Elohim of truth, because some of this stuff out there that's been hidden will rock your world. So send me your information, send me your questions, send me your desires to schedule sessions to speak. I will do them in group sessions because, as many of you know, that is my livelihood, and I do counsel and do sessions, uh, multiple sessions or multi-person sessions, and that is my livelihood. So just be aware of that. That when you're calling, I will always be available, but make sure that you have specific questions and you're able to get specific answers from me. Now, what I will not do is I will not, please believe, please everybody, please understand that at the base bottom line, I'm still Yahweh's prophet. And when people are indicting me, or excuse me, not indicting me, but pushing information on me to ask specific questions, that in reality you want me to become your a la carte of information without sowing your seed of time and input and just being a part of something. I'm not going to be a fast food of truth. You're going to sit down, you're going to learn, and you're going to be educated and be brought to a new spiritual awakening place. But I will not be a fast food of truth. And I will not allow any more in my life to be taken advantage of in that department of people coming and gleaning information. And the information, this truth is not mine, but the hours, the time that I spend in the face of Yahweh, in the face of books, in the face of transcripts and scrolls. Um, I'm not simply going to watch individuals walk away and walk as if, look what I've done, look what they've done, and then they go start their own thing. That's okay. Everybody needs to have their own space. That's okay. But taking advantage of people just simply to get what you want out of it. I'm still Yahweh's prophet. I do see you. I do know who you are. And I'm not simply going to just vomit information out. Come on in where the table is spread and the feast of the Lord Yahweh is going on. Amen. All right. If that's not concerning you, let's just keep listening. All right. If we look at June, the time period of June selected by the Romans was for the god or their god known as the Queen of Heaven, Roman god named Juno. Furthermore, if you look further, of course we know, and this is where I want to slow it down a little bit. Of course, you know, if you look at July, that was the Roman emperor known as Julius Caesar. That's clear. We've already went over that. If you look at August, that was the Roman emperor by the name of Augustus Caesar. But here's where it gets interesting. I want you to notice, and we're going to move expeditiously here. If you look at it, the month of September is the Latin word septem, which is the number 7. Wait a minute. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. It's the Latin word for 7, but yet it's the 9th month. And why am I taking all this time again to go through these months? It's not just it's not just Ben and Jerry's fun facts in the back of an ice cream box. No, it's the fact that if you do not understand the seasons and the times, then everything that you do will be misaligned. If you not understand how man has preoccupied us with religion and wars and rumors of war and everything else, then you won't see that that has been a smokescreen to take your eyes away from being able to align truth with prophecy in the earth. So time has been dispensed inaccurately that I'm telling you it's going to be so easy for you to misalign the scriptures as we're about to go into them here in just a bit here. Now, October is the Latin word octo or octo is the Latin number for 8. Octagon, you see that? But it's not the 8th month. It was, but even that was misaligned. How do you simply, what I'm trying to tell you is, how do you simply just change time? How does one simply say, yeah, it's 11 o'clock, but now we're going to call it, just going to call it 7? Why? Because I just feel like it's a 7. It looks like a 7 o'clock outside. The sun looks like a 7 o'clock. How do you just reform dates with no prior knowledge, information, or truth? November. The Latin word novem is 9, but yet it's not the 9th month. And finally, December. Decem, excuse me, or Deci, which is 10, but December is not the 10th month. if you remember that January and February were added later on, and August and July were changed to fit the consuming ego of two men, two emperors of Rome, then you'll find out that time has been stolen. That's what I want you to see. Time has been stolen. But I want you to look at next. This is where I want you to pull out your pen and your pad. Okay? We're going to do a little bit, just a few minutes here of going over the Hebrew calendar, the Luach Shana. Luach Shana. That is the Hebrew word for calendar. Just gave you a brand new word, Luach Shana. Luach Shana. Sha, it's not sha, it's sha. Luakshana. 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 Calendar is Luakshana. We're going to go through the Luakshana, the Hebrew Luakshana, and I'm going to give you these words. Boom, 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 on the screen. And the challenge is going to be this. The challenge is going to be this. The challenge is going to be that by the next Sabbath, I am challenging you to inbox me a video of you. That's right. Take a video on your phone without and you know what? No cheating. No cheating. All right? I want you to show yourself with nothing in your hands and not nothing on the screen where you're reading your screen and you're looking down and say, "Oh, the month of." No, I'm challenging you. Matter of fact, before the next Sabbath, let's do it. Let's make this homework for everyone due to me by the fifth day. By the fifth day. Now, what if you haven't been a part of that process of first day through the seventh day? Let's go through it. Today is the Sabbath. Tomorrow is the first day. Monday is the second day. Tuesday is the third day. Wednesday is the fourth day. Thursday is the fifth day. Friday is the sixth day. Now, why am I so key on getting people out of the practice of calling these moon days, these Thor's days, these Wednesday? It's not because it's just a super religious thing. I want you to get used to being in a community of people where truth and spoken truth is observed, because the more that you engulf yourself, come on now, the more that you engulf yourself into a community, into a society, those teachers out there, I have several teachers who watch on a regular basis. You know that if the environment is conducive to the language and the style of language and what you're trying to teach, if when you walk into a Spanish classroom to speak to learn Spanish, then you'll see the words all in the room, because you have to submerge yourself in the process in order to be authentically a part of that process. If I'm teaching, if I as a football coach and things of that nature, if I'm teaching new people about football, I need to submerge them on first down, second down, third down, fourth quarter. If it's a part-time thing, then it will be a part-time project for you. This is who you are. And even if you are not, if you are a different nationality or ethnicity and you're still wondering how I'm going to incorporate, well, I'm not African American and I may be African. So how does that support me being Hebrew? Remember that of it all, we are all engrafted into this body of Yisrael. So no matter if you are learning who you are, if you were told that you were something else, if you are in quest of Yeshua HaMashiach, if you are in quest, then you must submerge yourself into this Yisrael or this Hebrew experience, because it is who you are. But that's the reason why I want to unprogram those things. Now you've ever heard the phrase "when in Rome, do what Romans do." That's essentially the problem. We have been so far into Rome and Roman techniques and teachings and understandings that we have become Romans. So I'm teaching you to become authentically Hebrew. Ah. So whenever you hear me say, I'm really saying authentically Hebrew. Ah. When you hear that, I'm igniting you to become authentically Hebrew. Ah. This is that time. So the reason why I'm going over these first day, second day, third days, and I know that when you are in the world and when you are in your profession or you are in your society of career or you are in your office, then the office works Monday through Sunday. And they use those Norse, Roman, Greek god names. But let me tell you something. When you come into a body of believers, you need to exercise speaking the language of your government. You need to exercise learning the language of your people. You need to exercise learning the principles of your path. And your path is Hebrew. So on the fifth day, today is the Sabbath, tomorrow is the first day, I want everyone to send me a video of them rehearsing, reciting the months of the calendar, the months of the Luach Shana. I want you to do that for me. Take time this week and study them. I'll put them on the screen, and I want to hear you saying them over and over. But I want a video, just a 30-second video of simply you giving me those months, these months in order as they are given to you. Can we do that? By the fifth day? Can we do that? Can we do that? And I'm going to display a couple of those next week of some people next week. If you're not camera shy, I'm just going to show a couple clips and put a little thing together to show you that there are other people who are just a few, just one or two or three, but those who are learning right along with you in their corner and their part of this world. Let's go in, shall we? All right, thank those who are praying for me. I actually feel your prayers and your strength right now. I feel good right now. I feel better than I did before I began the broadcast, and that is to the glory of Yeshua HaMashiach. Thank you for praying for me. I got some ice, y'all. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Took some ice in and then want to spit it back in the cup while you're watching. All right. The first month. The first month that we're going to deal with is going to be, now this is going to be a little, not really controversial, but we'll get into why there are several connotations of this name in the future. Aviv, but I want you to practice saying Nisan, 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 not Ni Hao. We're not in China. We're not in the countries in Asia. We're not saying Ni Hao. We're saying Nisan, Nisan. All right. The next we're going to go to the second month is Iyar, Iyar, as in the phonetical spelling would be like Eeyahr, Iyar, the month of Iyar. Yeah. Now, my sons, I know you're watching this. This is the part of your Hebrew teaching for next week. So I'm giving you a heads up. That's why I have you with your pen and pad. You need to be writing these down. You too, Zaza. You too. Okay? If you need help, go to mommy. Iyar. Iyar. That's I, not L. That's Iyar. All right? Next month we're going to go to is Sivan. 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 No, that's not a derivative of the word seven. That's Sivan. As in S-E-E. The phonetical spelling would be S-E-E-V-A-H-N. Sivan. Sivan. As I'm saying them, say them out loud. I can't hear you. I can't see you. Practice saying them. Sivan. Sivan. All right. Next, we're going to go to the month of Tammuz. 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 Now, I'm working on my tongue, my dialect of Hebrew. So if you cannot say, and I will say it several times to give you a slower pace to say them, as I am working on a different level or another place of the Hebrew tongue. I'm working hard, y'all, working with you. I'm working right alongside of you. And that's going to be, again, Tammuz, or Tammuz, 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 T-A-H, Muz, M-O-O-Z, the line across, Tammuz. That's not the correct spelling, that's the phonetical spelling. And when I say phonetical, I mean broken down so that you can understand how it sounds. Okay? Next one was a really easy one for you to remember, and that's Av. Av, just like it sounds. Av. Right? Ave Maria, Av. Av. Okay? Next we have Elul. Elul. Not El-Lul, but breaking down E-H-L-O-O-L. Elul. Elul. And we're going to get into not necessarily one by one as far as in subsequent weeks what they mean, but we're going to use these because there's that understanding will be brought out as we begin to study the scripture from the Torah. We're getting ready. Let me say this. Let me interrupt the month of Elul to let you know that there are two sets. I thought long and hard about this and how I'm going to dispel this to you all as a remnant, but so not but, and I've come to the conclusion that since the spring feast of Yahweh have already concluded, we are looking, there's a spring and then there's a fall. And that is a mighty understanding that I am so excited to release to you. But you'll find that the fall festivals, the fall feast are going to be taking place. We have some coming up. They start in September and they roll through. And I know we haven't. I know I said September, but I'm saying that because we're right now learning the months as we go along. So I'm still using those words when speaking to you. But understand that after next week, anything that I have to give you, I will be mixing it with your former understanding of the Gregorian and the Julian calendar and the days of the week. And I will be always giving you the side by side of the Hebrew words that coincide. And then ultimately, I'll be moving away from those words in these broadcasts and only be using the Hebrew tongue, even working towards even speaking portions of the broadcast in Hebrew as we move forward. So it's good. I want you to understand that I'm so excited that I'm doing all this to prepare you for September, which is when the feast, the fall feast begin. And I want to move through this in August, and we're going to begin the teaching what those actual festivals, not festivals, they're not festivals, what those actual feasts pertain to and how to observe them. And we're going to do them together, whether or not we are able to get together in person to commemorate and to celebrate these feasts of the Lord. We will be doing so online. I will be searching all of your communities, and that's important. That's why it's going to be so important for you to let me know where you're at, because I'll be reaching out to partners in different cities so that you will begin to be able to find the right food, become a part of a food community, because it does call for you to eat foods of a certain way, of a certain caliber. It does call for you to observe these feasts, lambs, whole lambs, and things of that nature. I'm going to be searching your communities and finding partners for you in those communities so that you can find the right foods. And even when it comes time to come together, for those who are in my vicinity, it's going to be determined by And I'll be honest with you, I don't believe that we'll be able to do this face to face, because I do prophetically believe that the virus, this virus, this thing will become robust to a different level. But I will be able to do so. The Bible talks about us coming together. Now, when their day, in the day of the Hebrew calendar, in the Luach Shana, they did not have the internet. They did not have integration of sound and 3D and visual. We can do this. Yahweh has given us the tools to become a community in person, live, in person, where you are, and your camera becomes my camera, and my camera becomes your camera, and we are feasting at the same time. And we can worship together. If all these pastors have found that they can worship together online, then I can be a part of you observing the festivals and the feast together. So that's why it's going to be so important that you identify where you're at and what's going on and become a part of this. Because at the last minute, when it comes closer to that time of festival times, in less than 67 days now, 65, 60, as it begins within the next 60 to 70 days, I will not be taking time within the last 7 or 10 days to say, hey, I want to be a part. You got to come in now. If you know people in your communities who want to understand or to be a part of the true feast of the Lord, and they do not have this opportunity, invite them in. Tell them to come a part of the Sabbath now, the Sabbath at 7 now, because I'm not going to spend time in those subsequent months or days leading up to it answering questions and finding resources. I will be engaged in getting ready to align heaven with earth with heaven, with my form of worship in feasting and festival. And I'm telling you, I'm excited about it, so I'm not going to be facilitating this just to have you a part. You're doing this with me, so I need for you to take a part of this. Tell someone about it, because at that time, as we get closer to these festivals, you will be made aware, you will be briefed, you will be told of everything going on. And instead of going through each feast in one lump sum, as we prepare for one feast and the next feast and the next feast and the next feast, we will be learning them. You'll be learning them in real time and telling you how to coordinate your time, your efforts. We're going to even go further with this Sabbath thing and begin to identify it's not enough just not to work on the Sabbath. Are you really observing the Sabbath? I understand that for those individuals, and there is scripture reference for this, there are individuals that are unable to take a part of the Sabbath because of their work. In the Bible, in the scriptures, it talks about some that came to the rabbi and said, and came to the teachers and came to the disciples and said, hey, we can't take part because the custom was of killing a man, or the blood of a man, or what they did. They were unable to be a part of the community for X amount of days. And I'll get into that in some time, but there are exceptions that you must be aware of that is not religiously binding you to this day. But if you are really sincere about it, and you are sincere, even if you have to work on the Sabbath, but if you really are endeavoring to reach the spirit of this thing, then you won't let nothing stop you. If you have to call and say, teacher, this is what's going on. I work on the Sabbath. I can't. I feed my family like this. Well, there is an exception, and there's an exception to the rule, because because get this, for nearly 450 plus years, the children of Israel were in bondage and had to work on the Sabbath. There are exceptions, and there is information that gives us the movement by the Ruach HaKodesh of Yeshua. The Spirit, the holy set aside Spirit of Yahweh, will show us how to maneuver you individually through this thing. Are you hearing me? Are you hearing me? I'm making myself available. So there cannot be an excuse. I don't want you without an excuse. I don't want you with an excuse. I want you to come on in with the festivals. I want you to take your rightful place at the table. I want you to be a part of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the Feast of Tabernacles. I want you to take a part of the Purim. I can't wait to take part of it with you. I can't wait till you get this knowledge and understanding so that your relationship with Yahweh is so much greater, so much more passionate, and is so much more truer to the identity of who you are. Let's move on. The next month after Elul is Tishrei. 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 Okay? T I. Oh, maybe I should put it on the screen. I got excited, y'all. I had a moment. I'm feeling good. Thank you for your prayers. Tishrei. T. The phonetical spelling would be Teeshray. Or some would say Tishrei. Tishrei. It is actually Rei. Rei is going to be Tishrei or Tishrei. Tishrei. And you can't say that with the roll. I'm working on my vocabulary as well as you. Then you can take it down to a base level and say Tishrei, Tishrei, Tishrei. All right. Next, and this is another that we're going to have to get to and really deal with because it just like Nisan and Aviv is going to have some understanding later on to have to evolve understanding of why there's some type of controversy or complexities about this month as well. And that month is Heshvan. Heshvan. Different variations can be Mahishvan, Heshvan, Mahishvan. But for the sake of the complexities, we will simply say right now, Heshvan. Heshvan. Just like it's spelled right there on the screen, Hesh, and put a V-A-H for the phonetical spelling, Heshvan. Heshvan. Let's move right along. Make sure I have them on the screen in the correct order here. The month of Kislev. 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 K-E-E-S-L-E-V. Kislev. Okay. Next, moving right down the line. Tevet. Just like it sounds. Ta or te. T-U. The phonetical would be T-U, or you could even say T-E. Tevet. All right. Next, we're going to go to Shabbat. One of my favorite months. You'll find out why when we get in the scripture. And you'll find that in the scriptures that even before, and I'm going to give you just a tad 30-second background, even before these months, a lot of these months were added after the Babylonian captivity. So prior to I'm going to give you those two today. I'm going to go ahead and give you those two. I'm going to give you the captivities. People have asked questions about and that's going to be very important to understand how America aligns with the final captivity of the Hebrew people. But you'll find that prior to the Babylonian captivity, you will find that a lot of these months were not utilized, and they were simply called the first month, the second month, the third month, the fourth month. And not to make these irrelevant, these are important because these are mentioned within scriptures, and it gives you an opportunity to align them and be able to utilize these names as well as the first month, the second month, so on and so forth. We'll get to that. Next, we're going to go to Adar. The last month is as in UH, Dar. Adar. 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 Now, so let's go through them again. Aviv, Nisan. Okay. Excuse me, I thought I took them off the screen. Hope you all can still see them on the screen. I just had to screen go out. I know that we're still live, but I had a screen to go out here. But let's go through them again. Hopefully they're still on the screen for you. This will be your point of reference to be able to go through and to hear them said out loud. Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz, Av, Elul, Tishrei, Heshvan, Kislev, Tevet, Shevat, Adar. Same, a little slower this time. Luach Shana, the calendar, the Hebrew Luach Shana. The Hebrew Luach Shana. Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz, Av, Elul, Tishrei, Heshvan. I'm still working on my the Heshvan, Kislev, Tevat, Shevat, Adar. These are the Luach Shana of the Hebrew. All right. Hope you got those. If not, you can always go back to the screen and push that button again and fast forward and rewind and on your favorite social media platform. And I was going to say stage, y'all. Change the word up, say platform. All right, so here's what I want you to understand about just briefly. And I told you I want to give this to you so you can have these as well. And I'm going to leave these on the screen for you so that you can see them. But I'm also going to give you the Hebrew captivities, including the modern day. There's quite a few. There's a few of them. But I want to give those to you, and I want you to write them down as well. Okay, so there was the Egyptian captivity. Okay, and these are what we're going to begin to research and study as we go through the festivals to understand how they are connected with the festivals and why they are so important to the unique way that Yahweh has chosen to discipline, to grow, and to develop, and to love his people, the Hebrew people. Because first we have the Egyptian captivity. Then there was the Assyrian captivity. And if you remember, I told you earlier about how these months came out of after the Babylonian captivity. Well, in the order, after the Egyptian and the Assyrian captivity, there was the Babylonian captivity. Okay, so we have the Egyptian captivity, we have the Assyrian captivity, and then we have the Babylonian captivity. Okay? All right. Next, we have the Persian captivity. Then we have the Greek captivity, followed by the Roman captivity, and finally the American captivity. Okay? Same again. We have the Egyptian, the Assyrian, the Babylonian, the Persian, the Greek, the Roman, and finally the American captivity. Those are going to be important. So along with your homework for this coming week, I want you to not only to give me the months, the Luach Shana, the calendar of the Hebrew, but I also want you to give me the captivities of the Hebrews. Okay? Good stuff. Hope this is helping you. Hope this is growing you. I know that it's helping. I know that it's growing if you delve yourself in to this process. All right, we're going to wrap this up. That was the end. We're going to spend about 25 minutes now going over a portion of the video by our good friend from the ACLU, Mr. Jeffrey Robinson. And we're going to break down, just watch a little bit of that video, and I'll give some commentary on some of those pieces, on some of the words that he speaks. And I want you to listen intently. As we left off last week, we ended off with the information that was about Stone Mountain and the monuments that were given at Stone Mountain to the KKK. And if you remember, if you were not here last week, the reason why this is important is because moving forward, I will be dealing with a lot of information that happened pre-America. But I also want you to understand that the last and final captivity, the last and final captivity, in was and has been America, and that is the fulfillment of the scripture that we will deal with. But I must give you enough information, a lot of information, some information, adequate information, above adequate information that will help you to understand how this ties to the current America and how the Hebrews are tied and how the tribulation or the captivity took place in America. And because my specialty, my area, my passion is pre-America, I want to make sure that I'm giving you enough information and enough resources so that you can search post or during the America captivity. Does that make sense? Hope it does. Let's go to the video, shall we?
About our military and about American soldiers and what we owe to the people who put their lives on the line. This man was slaughtering American soldiers, and they built a monument for him. Everybody remembers the Edmund Pettus Bridge and Bloody Sunday. Heck, they made a movie about it.
If you are not familiar with the Edmund Pettus Bridge, I want you to listen carefully to this information, but I want you to research Bloody Sunday civil rights face-off at Selma. You can see this very, very nostalgic and just eerie. It's taking me back because I'm seeing images in my head of things that I've watched. But if you have not familiar, I want you to this week to look up Bloody Sunday and look up on YouTube and look up on different outlets, just information. Look up Life Magazine, look up these articles and see the language, okay?
But who was Edmund Pettus? Well, that's who Edmund Pettus was. The grand of the Alabama KKK. And that bridge was dedicated not in 1865 or 1870, but in 1940. And we'll come to that timing as we go through this, because the timing of these monuments, I think, suggests something that's very important in terms of understanding what they're about. This is one of my favorites, I will just tell you. If you have, can I see a show of hands? People here who have been to Stone Mountain, Georgia? So there are some people, and I'm glad to see that. But I'm betting you don't know the entire story of Stone Mountain, Georgia. Because on Thanksgiving Eve in 1915, William Joseph Simmons took these things to Stone Mountain, Georgia. He took bricks where he made an altar. He took the American flag. He took the Holy Bible. He took an unsheathed sword, and he took a cross. And he made himself the new imperial wizard of the KKK.
Now, here's why that's very important for you to understand, is that last week, if you remember, I talked prophetically about what that was. If you look at the history of biblical scripture, Yaakov, Jacob, in everything, if you study his timeline, you'll find that every place that he went, he built an altar. And he made not a sacrifice, but he built an altar. And even the final altar that I love so much was one of the final recorded altars was he at Peniel. And he made an altar at Peniel, and it's meant because he had seen the face of Yahweh and lived. I want you to understand that in the same capital S, Spirit of Yahweh, these people were giving themselves over to rituals to adorn the land or to commemorate or to offer the land in the United States to their gods. I told you last week that the headwear that many said, oh, you have that headwear on your face as a KKK because you are a coward. Well, many of them are a coward for wearing it now, but the original intent for wearing that mask was to invoke, to become the spirit of those who had died before them for their cause. It was to invoke or become a ghost or become a spirit. Their entire white garb was inspired to be a garb that invoked them to become the spirits. It was a very spiritual matter. So when this Pettis brought these items to Stone Mountain, he was no less raising a ritual. I took a moment last week to help you understand that this is not a natural battle. To understand the premise of these things naturally is okay, but you must understand that you are a spirit being having a human experience. And all of these individuals are not as unknown that you think they are. He knew exactly what he was doing. He was called upon the spirit of his gods. Let's continue.
That's what Stone Mountain, Georgia is. It is a monument to the KKK. Now, its history is interesting. That's what it looks like. It is the largest bas relief in the world. Jefferson Davis, Robert E. Lee, and Thomas Stonewall Jackson. Conceived in 1912 by the United Daughters of the Confederacy, deeded to the United Daughters in 1916. They started working on it with the KKK in 1922, but it was...
Did you hear that? They started working on it with the KKK. Now it's going to be so interesting. I think you're going to be very interested to find out that the government of the United States took on these efforts with these two non-government groups or non-spoken government groups. Let's keep watching.
Abandoned for 36 years until the state of Georgia purchased it and created the Stone Mountain Memorial Association to complete the project, and it was completed in 1972. And finally, this one. I got a call from a Washington Post reporter several weeks ago, and he said, I want to talk to you about these monuments that have been in the news a little bit recently, and I'm having some confusion. First of all, did you know that there was a Confederate monument in Arlington National Cemetery? And I told him, no, I had no idea. And he said, well, it's not on, like, if you take the tour there, they don't really take you by it. They kind of point at it and say, and over there's a Confederate monument, and they kind of push you on by. But he said, I have some questions about it, and have you ever seen it? And I told him, I haven't been there. I had no idea it was there. And he says, well, I'm trying to figure out what is a mammy. And I asked him to repeat his words. I said, what did you say? And he said, I'm trying to figure out what is a mammy. And I said, well, I can tell you what a mammy is. And I said, you're going to see a black woman with a handkerchief around her head holding onto one or two white kids. And he's like, hold it. I thought you hadn't been to the monument. And I said, no, I haven't. I just grew up in America. I grew up black in America. I grew up in the South in America. And I know exactly what a mammy is. This is from the website of the Arlington National Cemetery. The vignettes include a slave following his young master, an officer kissing his infant child in the arms of her mammy.
Now, the reason why I really want you to see that portion, first of all, to understand that those three individuals who are on this thing on Stone Mountain, um, these are Confederate people, individuals who lost the war, who were the fathers of Confederacy, who the Union beat and are encased, enshrouded upon this mountain, bigger than even that of the stone of the Lincoln and excuse me of Washington, and this is bigger than all those. And to finish it in in the mid part of the 1900s, not the 1800s, the government of Georgia finished it. Let that sink in for you. I want you to also understand that these monuments have been erected as late as late as the 1970s and the 1980s. Do your math. Let's just give it 1970 to now, barely over 50 years. What am I trying to get you to see? Well, I need you to see it.
This is definitely a monument to history. But monuments are built to honor history. I am not honored by this, and neither is any other black person in America. That's in Arlington National Cemetery. I told you that our history has been stolen from us.
Now, for those of you who don't know what Arlington National Cemetery is, it is a military cemetery that houses hundreds upon thousands of military individuals as a way of honoring and commemorating their service. What in the world is a Confederate anything doing in a cemetery that honors the United States? You think about what they're really telling you.
That's what America is about. A land of dreams and opportunity. There were other immigrants who came here in the bottom of slave ships, worked even longer, even harder for less. But they too had a dream. That one.
Wait a minute. Did you hear what this fool? I mean, what this? Did you hear what this man said? He said that the slaves who came over in boats, packed up like sandwiches and sardines, they had a dream. They had a dream. They worked for, he said, they worked for a lot less. They worked for nothing. Do you see? You know what? I'm not even going to deal with Mr. Carson today. Not even going to do it. Not even going to do it.
One day their sons, daughters, grandsons, granddaughters, great-grandsons, great-granddaughters might pursue prosperity.
Nope. I got to do it. Nope. I got to do it. First of all, you see I said this in the last video. I want you to watch the faces of this predominantly white crowd. And I want you to understand that in moments where they are completely oblivious and they're like deer caught in headlights, that's going to be many of you when you hear the truth about this scripture and the truth of the historical and the spiritual data that will be released over the Sabbath. I'm setting you up for it. But listen to what this man said. He said that these people, he might as well have said that, in these boats had a dream that for their grandchildren. No, there was never a dream by slaves to be in this country. It was a stolen dream and a written dream spoken to individuals who did not know the language. You stole our language. Our language was stolen. Our identity was stolen. Our land was stolen. Our purpose was hidden. Now, I want you to hear those words, and I want you to go back through the Egyptian, the Assyrian, the Babylonian, the Persian, the Greek, the American. I want you to go through all of those other captivities and put the same words to it. Identity, language, land stolen, and a dream told to us that we need to have. I'm dreaming that you understand that it's time for you to know the truth. I'm dreaming that it's time for you to understand your legacy. Not something that was written down for you. Not something that was spoken to you. But something that is proven to you to be who you are.
And happiness in this land.
You can laugh if you want. Bill O'Reilly says on national television, yeah, the slaves built the White House. They had nice places to live and decent food. The state of Texas is teaching that slavery was a side issue to the Civil War. Our history is being stolen from us. And what I would say to Mr. Carson is that the idea, just these little code words, they were immigrants, not slaves. And if you think that he's the only one, there's another person from the administration the other day who was calling slaves workers, not slaves. This kind of rewriting of history matters, because if slavery wasn't that bad, then what the hell are you still complaining about it for? Why don't you black people just move on? Why can't you get over it? If it wasn't that bad. And so when this man says, people came over here with dreams of prosperity, I will grant you that there were dreams. I think they were more like nightmares. And I think the dreams had to do with, we don't even know what these people are saying. We can't even understand their language. We understand the end of the whip. That's a universal language that we understand. There were nightmares that people had, and trying to change that is the rewriting of our history. This is where the South won the Civil War. They didn't win the war, they won the peace by rewriting what our history is truly about. And so, I want to take you through some of that history. And I hope that, I am not standing here like, let me tell you this stuff and you don't know it and I'm smarter than you. I'm 61 years old at the end of this month. I was born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee, and much of the stuff I am sharing with you, I have learned in the last 6 or 7 years.
I think that this may be a good place to resolve for the evening. He said some very key things. That much of this stuff, much of this information has been covered. And the truth of knowing that it's been covered is prophesied in the scripture in Thessalonians, because we have not taught the Hebrew of Thessalonians yet. But it speaks of Yahweh turned us over to untruth, because it's what we craved, is what we desired. So a lot of this information during this period, my brothers and my sisters, it's being uncovered for the first time. The impact of it is being felt for the first time, because for the first time the covers and the blinders are coming off. it is so important that you stay attached to a rabbinical process, rabbinical teaching that does not rely simply upon the letter and the spoken, but the spiritual. You have to understand that it is the time to make sure that you are staying attached to truth. I bid you shalom today. I pray to the Yahweh of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, Yeshua HaMashiach. I pray that the Ruach HaKodesh of Yahweh, the Spirit, the set-aside Spirit, the set-aside, the set-apartness of Yahweh will begin to draw you in. And the truth that you must glean will change your life. Not just to know who you are, but to know your history. And in knowing your history, able to understand your future. And understanding your future, able to understand that He who sits on the throne shall come again. He shall come again. He shall perform His word. He shall fulfill His scriptures. He shall do what He said He was going to do. Every word that proceeds out of His mouth will accomplish what He pleases it to do. I pray that this week, at the words of Elohim, your Elohim, speak to your spirit. Speaks to your spirit. Ignites your heart. Consumes your soul. Moves you to action. Persuades you to passion. Ignites you to authority. And moves you to manifestation. Now unto Him that is able to keep you from falling and present us faultless before His presence with exceeding joy, to the only wise God be both majesty, dominion, and power, both now and forever. To the Yahweh of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, Yeshua HaMashiach. I pray that the Ruach HaKodesh be with you now